You know the feeling? You're sitting there staring at your bank account on your phone.
Oh, absolutely.
Or like looking at some sudden unexpected bill that just hit your inbox and you catch yourself having that one incredibly universal thought, like if I just had a little more money, everything would be fine.
Right, yeah. It's this pervasive fantasy we all share.
Exactly. This fantasy of a financial finish line, a magical threshold where the stress just evaporates, the sky's clear, and you can finally start actually living your life.
It is the ultimate modern daydream.
Hmm.
I mean, we tend to treat wealth like a universal solvent, really, that can dissolve all of the friction, anxiety, and just the general messiness of our daily lives.
Totally.
And honestly, it is a deeply human reflex to think that way, especially in a culture that explicitly equates purchasing power with, personal peace.
Okay, let's unpack this. Wait, scratch that. I'm just so used to saying that. Okay, let's unpack this because that exact fantasy is the core of our deep dive today.
It really is.
We are exploring this really fascinating script excerpt from a show called Mind Matters. And its entire mission is to deconstruct what might be the most debated question in the history of human commerce. Can money actually buy happiness?
Yeah, and more importantly, what are the actual mechanical realities of how wealth interacts with our psychological well-being?
Right. Because depending on who you ask, you usually get one of two extreme answers.
Exactly. You get either a cynical, of course it does, or this highly romanticized, money is the root of all evil kind of thing.
Right. But what the Mind Matters script does so effectively is it bypasses all that moralizing entirely. It just looks at the actual data.
The data and the psychological mechanisms behind how a dollar actually impacts the human brain.
Yeah. And it starts by addressing the baseline reality right out of the gate. Before we get into any of the philosophical limitations of wealth or, the psychology of millionaires.
We have to establish the foundational truth.
Right. Like you, the audience listening right now, you already know that money buys groceries and keeps the lights on. But the script takes a deeper look at what that actually means for our cognitive function.
It does.
Yeah.
It explicitly points out that money undeniably buys the foundational requirements for a happy life: comfort, security, and access.
Comfort, security, and access.
Right. Which is critical because you cannot have a meaningful conversation about self-actualization or contentment without first acknowledging the biological realities of survival.
Oh, absolutely. Like when you lack the funds for a vital, non-negotiable essentials, food, shelter, healthcare, your brain is operating under a heavy cognitive tax.
A massive tax. You are basically in a perpetual state of threat response.
It's pure survival mode. I mean, think about the mental math of standing in the checkout line, silently calculating if you have enough in your checking account to cover the groceries.
It's exhausting.
It is. That takes up real bandwidth.
That is the exact mechanism at play. When the source material states that money buys security and reduces stress, it is talking about eliminating that background hum of panic.
Right.
If you are constantly navigating scarcity, your cortisol levels are elevated, your focus narrows entirely to the immediate threat.
Because you literally have to.
Exactly. You simply do not have the neural resources available to cultivate joy or, ponder your purpose or be fully present with your loved ones. So an influx of cash up to a certain point literally buys your brain the bandwidth to focus on things other than immediate survival.
I always think about it like a life jacket.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like if you are thrown into the middle of the ocean and you're drowning in a sea of debts and late notices, a life jacket is the only thing in the world that matters to you.
It's your entire universe.
Right. Securing that life jacket feels like the greatest, most profound joy imaginable because it pulls you out of the water. But, and this is my question for you, does the source imply that this financial security itself is a form of active happiness? Because once you are safely pulled onto the deck of the boat, simply wearing a life jacket doesn't bring you joy anymore. It just stops you from drowning. So is the script saying money buys happiness or just the absence of misery?
What's fascinating here is how the text carefully navigates that exact distinction. It doesn't claim that the money itself generates joy in a vacuum.
Okay.
It emphasizes the reduction of worries. By providing security and affording access to enriching experiences like travel, education, and the freedom to pursue passions, money acts as a catalyst.
A catalyst. I like that.
Right. It clears the runway. You cannot easily cultivate a joyful, fulfilled life if you are drowning, as you said. So the baseline of cash removes the misery and provides the fertile soil for contentment, but it is not the contentment itself.
Wow. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It buys the canvas, but it doesn't paint the picture.
Exactly.
You still have to figure out what to put on the canvas. And that brings us to the real friction in our deep dive today. If we establish that money acts as this essential life jacket, what happens when you just keep accumulating them?
You mean hoarding life jackets on the boat?
Right. We transition from the undeniable biological and cognitive benefits of wealth to the major twist in the source material, the strict limitations of money.
This is where we get into the concept of diminishing returns.
Diminishing returns.
Yeah, it is a foundational economic principle that the script applies directly to human psychology. Beyond a certain threshold, once your baseline needs are met and your future is reasonably secure, additional wealth yields smaller and smaller increments of emotional well-being.
And the script gets highly specific about the reality of extreme wealth, right?
It does.
Noting that millionaires, people who have theoretically crossed that financial finish line we talked about at the beginning, they still struggle with very deep, very human problems.
Yeah, very human problems.
It specifically calls out anxiety, loneliness, and a pervasive lack of purpose.
Which totally shatters the illusion of the magical threshold.
Yeah.
The expectation is that once the bank account hits a certain number, the internal struggles just dissolve.
Right, the clouds part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the mechanism of diminishing returns dictates that while $10,000 is genuinely life-changing to someone in poverty, an extra $1 million to a billionaire doesn't alter their daily emotional state at all.
Not one bit.
They still wake up with the same brain, the same insecurities, and the same existential questions.
I have to admit, I struggle with this a little bit. Let me push back and challenge the premise here.
Sure.
Is the text actually suggesting that millionaires are uniquely miserable? Because, frankly, I think a lot of people listening right now would gladly trade the stress of paying rent for the stress of managing a multi-million-dollar stock portfolio.
I mean, absolutely.
Right. It feels a bit like complaining about the catering on a private jet. Like eating your absolute favorite dessert. The first slice is pure bliss, but by the fifth slice, you're just sick. But you're still eating dessert.
This raises an important question, and we have to read the nuance in the source material carefully here. The text is not claiming that having millions of dollars inherently makes you miserable. It's not a punishment, and it's certainly preferable to poverty.
Right, obviously.
What it highlights is that extra money simply loses its efficacy. It loses its power to fix internal struggles.
Because the life jacket can't cure loneliness.
Precisely. If your problem is a lack of shelter, money is the perfect tool. If your problem is a lack of meaning, throwing money at it is like trying to fix a broken computer with a hammer.
Just smashing it.
Right? It's the wrong tool for the job. But the text goes one step further into the mechanics of this, and this is the critical part. It points out that the actual pursuit of more money can lead to immense stress rather than satisfaction.
Wait, the pursuit itself?
Yes, the pursuit.
But isn't chasing a goal usually motivating? Working toward a promotion or building a business usually gives people drive. Why does the script identify the pursuit as a primary stressor?
Because there is a huge difference between pursuing a tangible goal and getting trapped in an infinite loop.
Okay, an infinite loop.
The text isolates the compulsive pursuit of accumulation. Think about the psychology of expectation, which is often called the hedonic treadmill.
Right, the hedonic treadmill.
You acquire more wealth, you upgrade your lifestyle, and very quickly, that new luxury becomes your new baseline.
It's like flying business class for the first time.
Yes, perfect example.
It is an absolute revelation. You feel like royalty. But if you fly business class every single week, it just becomes, well, flying.
It's normal.
And suddenly, the idea of going back to coach feels like a terrible hardship, even though it's exactly how you used to travel.
That is the hedonic treadmill in a nutshell. Your brain rapidly adapts to the new comfort level. So if your core strategy for happiness is simply acquiring more, you have created an unsolvable equation.
Unsolvable.
The goalposts constantly move. You are forcing your brain into a perpetual state of lack, endlessly chasing a horizon that recedes every time you take a step toward it.
Wow.
That specific, relentless chase is what the text identifies as a massive source of anxiety.
That is such a crucial distinction. The money itself doesn't make you anxious. The compulsive need to continuously elevate your baseline makes you anxious.
Exactly.
So if stacking endless amounts of cash leads to diminishing returns, and the relentless pursuit of it locks you on a treadmill of dissatisfaction, what actually works?
Right.
If money isn't the engine of contentment, what actually moves the needle? This is where the source material pivots from financial theory right into the hard psychology of well-being.
And it is a very pragmatic pivot. The script cites psychologists who have identified three significantly stronger predictors of human happiness than money.
Okay, what are they?
These are the core pillars: relationships, health, and a sense of purpose.
Health, relationships, and purpose. I know that sounds incredibly simple, almost like a cliche you'd see embroidered on a throw pillow.
Right, totally.
But the fact that the data repeatedly bears this out is profound. But, and here's where it gets really interesting. The text introduces a twist that I can only describe as brilliantly ironic.
It really is.
We spend our entire lives agonizing over how to acquire and hoard money to ensure our happiness, right? But the source points out a pro-social phenomenon. It states that giving money away or using it to help others actively boosts our well-being more than spending that money on ourselves.
It is one of the most remarkable findings in behavioral economics.
It's the ultimate paradox. The absolute best way to extract maximum psychological happiness from your money is to literally get rid of it.
Essentially.
Yes, you take the resource you traded your time and labor to acquire, you hand it to someone else, and that is the transaction that actually makes you feel fulfilled. I mean, how does that make any logical sense?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes perfect mechanical sense based on the three pillars the text just established.
Okay.
Why does giving money away work better than buying another luxury item? Let's look at the psychology. When you spend $50 on yourself, say, buying a new piece of clothing, the joy is tied entirely to the utility and novelty of that item.
Right.
As we established with the treadmill effect, that novelty fades rapidly.
The shirt becomes just another shirt in the closet.
Right. But when you take that same $50 and spend it on someone else, funding a classroom project, helping a friend in need, or supporting a community initiative, you are purchasing a narrative.
A narrative.
You're actively shifting your focus from accumulation to contribution.
Which directly feeds the relationships and purpose pillars.
Exactly. When you give to others, you immediately foster a sense of connection and social fabric, which bolsters the relationships pillar. You are signaling to your own brain that you have enough to share, which intrinsically lowers that scarcity anxiety we talked about at the beginning.
Oh, that's wild. It tricks your brain out of survival mode.
Exactly. And you are acting on a value system outside of your own ego, which solidifies your sense of purpose. The text is showing us that altruism isn't just a nice moral concept. It is practically the most efficient mechanism for generating personal well-being.
Wow.
You are using the money to trigger the psychological predictors of happiness that the money alone could ever buy.
That completely flips the script on how we value our resources. It is not about what the dollar can purchase for my own comfort, but what the dollar can facilitate between me and my community.
Yes.
Which brings us to the final major realization from the source material. We now have this incredibly comprehensive view of the landscape.
We do.
We know the undeniable power of money to provide baseline security and clear the cognitive runway. We understand its strict limitations and the trap of the hedonic treadmill. And we've unpacked the immense power of intangibles like relationships, purpose, and pro-social giving. So how do you actually apply this to your daily life?
Right, the practical application.
The text wraps up by revealing the ultimate operational secret balance.
Balance is the key, and the text is very specific about what that operational balance looks like.
So,
It defines it as having enough money to meet our needs and confidently pursue our passions, but fiercely guarding ourselves against letting the pursuit of wealth dominate our lives.
so what does this all mean for you, the listener? How do you visualize this balance in a practical way? I keep coming back to the idea of building a house.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's say money is essentially high-grade lumber and a warehouse full of top-tier power tools.
Got it.
If you are sleeping in the mud, you absolutely need those tools and that lumber. They are essential to getting a roof over your head.
Right.
But having a warehouse full of tools does not equal a home. You can hoard 1,000,000 power tools, but you will still be sleeping in an empty warehouse if you don't have a blueprint.
And in this context, the blueprint is your sense of purpose.
Exactly. The blueprint is the purpose, and the crew you invite to help you build and live in the house represents your relationships. The tools are just the mechanism.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize the source's message. The text explicitly states that money is ultimately just a tool, and the mindset behind how we deploy it is the only thing that matters.
Right.
According to the source, wealthy individuals who are genuinely, deeply happy share a common trait. They have fundamentally changed their mindset. They have stopped obsessing over gathering more tools.
They stopped hoarding the lumber.
Yes, they transitioned entirely from accumulation to application. The text points out that these happy individuals find their joy in giving back, in creating art, or in connecting deeply with loved ones.
The intangibles.
Right. They use their financial resources specifically to cultivate meaningful relationships, engage in fulfilling activities, and crucially, practice gratitude.
I am so glad you brought up gratitude because the text explicitly mentions it as having one of the biggest impacts on our overall well-being.
It's massive.
And logically, based on everything we've discussed, gratitude is the ultimate circuit breaker for the hedonic treadmill, isn't it?
It absolutely is. The treadmill is powered by the constant desire for the next upgrade, the relentless focus on the delta between what you currently have and what you want next. Gratitude is the mechanical opposite. It forces your brain to pause, survey the tools and the security you have already acquired, and extract value from them in the present moment.
Wow.
It pulls you out of the anxious pursuit of the future and grounds you in the security of the present. The text is urging a fundamental shift in how we view wealth. It must be a means to an end, never the end itself.
It is about changing your personal metric of success from how much is sitting in the vault to how much actual life am I building with what's in the vault.
Beautifully said.
And that really brings us to the end of the psychological journey this text takes us on. If you look at the arc of what we've unpacked today, it's quite a ride.
It really is.
We started with the harsh biological reality that, yes, money is your life jacket. You absolutely need it to establish that baseline of comfort, to secure your environment, and to shut off the draining cognitive tax of survival mode. It keeps you afloat.
But then we confronted the illusion of the finish line.
What?
The realization that hoarding life jackets won't make you any happier, and that the endless compulsive pursuit of wealth will actually lock you into a state of perpetual lack and anxiety.
Yeah, the trap of the ever-receding horizon. And finally, the breakthrough. The data-driven realization that your relationships, your physical and mental health, and your sense of purpose are the true, enduring currencies of a joyful life.
Which culminates in that incredibly powerful concluding reframing from the text. The ultimate goal of financial planning isn't to ask the impossible question, how much money do I need?
But rather the actionable question, what do I do with what I have?
Exactly. That shift puts the power entirely back in your hands. You are no longer a passive participant on a treadmill dictated by consumerism. You are the architect of your own well-being, purposefully deploying whatever tools you currently have at your disposal to build a meaningful life.
It is incredibly empowering. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over based on the mechanics we've just covered.
I like where this is going.
We spent a lot of time on the pro-social twist. The data proving that giving our money away boosts our own personal well-being significantly more than spending it on ourselves.
The irony of altruism.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's the rabbit hole I want you to take with you today.
Okay.
If the text is right and the psychological data confirms it, is that giving our resources away makes us feel fantastic, releasing all those feel-good chemicals in our own brains.
Wait, releasing those chemicals in our brains, is the act of giving actually secretly selfish?
Oh, wow.
Like, are we essentially just purchasing our own psychological happiness by using someone else's need as the transaction point?
That is a deep philosophical friction. If the motive is internal joy, is the act truly selfless?
Right, and the necessary follow-up to that is, if helping others is actually the ultimate biologically wired life hack to make ourselves feel great, does it even matter if it's selfish?
If someone in need gets the financial help they require, and you get the psychological happiness you require, isn't that the ultimate flawless win-win scenario?
Yeah.
Maybe the absolute best way to be wonderfully selfish is to be incredibly, relentlessly generous.
It is a fascinating lens through which to view human behavior. It suggests that our psychology might just be brilliantly engineered to reward us for communal survival above individual hoarding.
It's the ultimate feedback loop. So the next time you find yourself staring at your bank account, remember the life jacket is necessary to keep you from drowning, but the actual joy of the voyage comes entirely from who you pull onto the boat with you.
I love that.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We loved exploring the mechanics of this with you. Keep asking the big questions, stay curious, and make sure you find some joy in the little things today. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.